This is our fire series again. We're going to look at how to make fire from a spark. And we got a couple different ways that can be done, from modern type man-made stuff on over to the old primitive skills. And what we'll look at first, the new one that, well, it's not really that new, it's been around for a long time. It's called the ferro rod, ferrocerium rod is what it is. And it's man-made metal, and it actually gets very excited when you scrape it off there. And you can get different grades of this. This one's a military grade, so those sparks are about 5,000 degrees. And you can get them on down to the lower grade ones that are about 3,500. And that's still a pretty hot spark. And you can do a lot of different materials with these things. And we'll touch a little one off here. There's one that you can get in a lot of the camping stores, and even in like Meijer and Walmart. This is a magnesium block, and the idea with magnesium block is you scrape off a pile of magnesium. And magnesium, once it starts, you just can't get it to stop. And then a lot of them will have a ferro rod on the other side of it, and you use the ferro rod to go ahead and get the magnesium started. So that's a little handy little way as well. And some people will put them on their keychain and have them there. So this one, I put a little hook on, and I hook it to my belt. And when I need it, I'll unhook it, use it, and then it goes right back on my belt. And the nice thing about these is, even if you get them wet, you can still get fire from them. So they're really handy, they're good to have. And we'll show you a little bit here. We'll see if you never guarantee a matchless fire, but we'll see if we can just touch it off. I mean, it works really easy on these, as you can see. Now there's quite a few different things you can touch off with a spark. We're going to later on get into the flint and steel, which the mountain men used to use. But when you get into our tinder section, you'll find out how to actually find and use these different fungi that grow on white birch and beech. And this is horsehoof fungus in this section underneath that. This is the chaga, and this stuff's really good. That works real well. You can also use for spark this right here I harvested the other day. It's tops to the thistle that grows, and that will grab a spark real easy. And then everybody's familiar with the cattail top. That works as well. And these are just some of the things. Any of the plants that create that fuzzy stuff can be used. And so just keep that in mind as you're out looking. And a lot of times the fuzzy stuff, you're going to need something else right behind it, some really lightweight grasses or something. Yeah, because they'll go in a hurry, but they can set something else off, and that works pretty good. So these ferro rods, a lot of different names for them, fire steels, and some people call them a flint rod, and so there's just numerous names for them, but they're actually made out of ferrocerium, and so I always just call them a ferro rod. The old primitive guys that would do spark would be your old mountain men, and they would do what they call a flint and steel fire. And in order to, the pieces for that would be the steel. This is the steel here. It has to be high carbon steel, and it has to be hardened. And the old blacksmith, you know, if you can find a blacksmith, a lot of them still know how to make these. You can use an old file as well; those work. But the old blacksmiths, they still know how to make these strikers. So go catch them from there. You can get them on the internet as well. A lot of times they're a little more expensive on the internet than the blacksmiths are. Well, then you have the other piece. It's called flint. Now flint, we have flint from different areas, and flint from different areas actually has different colors. And this flint here is a white color, and it actually came from Ohio. And then another section of Ohio where it gets closer over there to Missouri and you know, Indiana and stuff, it'll start turning this color. And then when you actually get down into the lower parts and even near Kentucky and Tennessee and over to Missouri and Arkansas, it all gets this orangish type color to it. And then usually when you get down near Arkansas and Missouri border, sometimes you'll start finding it where it's turning black color. And this is actually Kentucky black here. And Kentucky black has little sparkles in it. And this is Oregon here, and this is another black. Now, flint doesn't always look this color when you first see it. You notice that the outside stone of this one was all white, but then when you break inside, then you find the flint. And this is one that I got out of Missouri, and you can see that it's all orange. And we see this section here is actually our flint. And you can break this up. And it works quite well to do stuff with. Now, I do have a piece of flint here, and this one actually came from Africa, and their flint is white and red. And this African flint actually works better than what I've gotten here in the United States. And what it happens is the carbon that's in the steel mixes with the silica that's in the stone. Now the stone has to have silica. Not every stone is going to spark, but flint has a lot, so it works really well. We also have agates that can work. Quartz can some as well, but it's a really short spark and short-lived, so you got to be pretty lucky with that. And so flint and steel works quite well. Well, we need something else as well. And the mountain men used to use what we call char cloth. You know, if you go over our tinder section, you'll see char cloth, and you'll even see how we can make it. The char cloth is basically a cloth, mostly cotton, that's been charred and it's been starved for oxygen as we do that. And you can see how we do that over there in that section. We'll go ahead and see if we can get a flint and steel fire going. And a lot of times I'll carry mine in my bag and the pieces will break up, and so I'll just take some of the broken pieces that are too small and I'll just stick them in my tinder bundle. And you'll see tinder bundles over in that other area as well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this, I'm going to set it right near the edge of my flint. And I forgot to show you the Michigan flint. I'm from Michigan, and we're in Michigan right now. Michigan flint ranges a little bit in color from a whitish gray, kind of like an eggshell, to even a little darker. And then there's even some in Michigan that's like this. And this one here I found right over there in my wife's flower garden. And I have made fire with that one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this right on the edge of this piece of flint. And then you want to take your steel and you want to strike that in such a way that you make sparks. Now, I always teach everyone when they start to do this to actually start from their ear when you strike. If you start from your ear, then you'll get a good strike on it. And they tend to, when you first start, you tend to just take a short stroke and you end up just scratching the stone. And that doesn't do it very well. One of the things I like to do is, get a good strike, start from your ear. And then I like to, if you zoom in on this, I like to pick a sharp edge, especially a point, like that point right there. If you hit those, they tend to spark better. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to strike this and make sparks. Now, depending on how lucky I am as to how many strikes it takes before we get one of those sparks to hit the char cloth. when it hits the char cloth, it's going to start the char cloth to go ahead and burn. And when that happens, then I'm going to go ahead and put it in my tinder bundle, and then we'll wrap it inside, and then we'll see what we can do about blowing that into a flame. And so we'll try a flint and steel. This is the way the mountain men used to do. Now, for their tinder, as they would have a pouch that they would keep inside their pocket. And as they were doing their walks during the day, they would be looking for old birds' nests that weren't being used, and they would take the inside of that. They would find mouse nests if they ran across those. Those work well. And you can find old dead trees where the bark is ready to fall off, and you can strip that off, and you can pull strips from the inside of that, and you can make tinder that way by rolling it up. So I'm going to use the jute. We'll talk about that over there in the tinder section. So let's see if we get a flint and steel fire, and then we'll talk about one that the schools across the United States say you can't do, and that's how to make fire from 2 stones. So let's see if we can get a flint and steel fire going here. Let's see how lucky I am. Okay, I got some started here right on the corner. And see a little glowing red there. I'm going to transfer that over here before it burns my fingers. Let's see if we can blow this into a flame. There we go. And that's our fire from flint and steel. And I do want to talk a little bit, because even prehistory, before the mountain men were doing flint and steel, we know that from the history records that they used to use what we call iron pyrite, or fool's gold. I'm going to zoom in on that. And this is fool's gold here, and they would use flint and fool's gold together. And when you strike those two together, you'll get a spark. And the spark is not very bright, and it's not real hot. It's not as hot as what these others were. But they used to drop these into the different types of fungus that we have here, and they were able to actually get the fire going. Now, my pieces are too crumbly. I'm going to have to get some more. Sometimes you can get this stuff in harder form like this, only this is too small for me to hang on to and still strike it. And sometimes you can find it embedded in other rock, like this is. And I've gotten some bigger pieces like this, and the drawback was I used some char cloth. And I was striking, I was getting sparks, and I dropped sparks down on my char cloth, and it would start. And then the dust from the other stone, part of the stone, would go down there and put it out. So I am going to continue. I've seen Ray Mears, you can see him on the internet. I've seen him make fire with this twice. And so even though they teach you across the United States anyways that you can't make fire from 2 stones, you can if you use iron pyrite and a piece of flint and a good tinder. And so this is our section on fire from a spark.